Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Simon and we are the Whales of Wall Street. If I freak out, it's because there's a giant moth in here because of all these lights on. It's very hot here in the UK for some reason, and they appear to like lights which are next to me. So if I freak out, it's because one's flapping near me. So apologies for that in advance. So let's go into the chart here. So we're going to start off with Zilliqa. And I think there's quite an interesting pattern here in most of the charts that we've done analysis on in the past. We actually drew in some lines, which is really interesting to see that we've hit those in majority of the cases. And we've had the corrections, albeit we weren't expecting the correction that we've seen today across the board, to be honest. But I think there's a lot of manipulation and some other bits and pieces in terms of leveraging and potential liquidation, in some of Bitcoin, which has transpired into other crypto assets as well, shaking out all the weak hands, as they say. So Zilliqa is quite interesting. From what we can see on this chart, I would just like to point out that we've had a significant drop in Zilliqa today. So we went from a high of 13 cents dropping down to 9. Now that is quite a big drop here. 0.085, so just under 9 cents. So that's quite a significant drop. What I would say to this is some positivity in the sense that if you were taking profits along the way, of course this has been a good buying opportunity throughout the last sort of 5-6 hours, certainly here in the UK, and as the US woke up, etc. And I'm sure we'll see some more developments over the night with the Asian market opening as well. But in general, we can't be too disheartened, because from the 21st of July, we have gone from round about 6 cents all the way up here to near enough 13 cents. So very much doubling our position. Obviously the correction, and you can and should anticipate 50% corrections at some point. And maybe the key areas were indicated here that we drew in previously around this area. We actually went above it, to be honest, a couple of times, but it seemed that today we started the day off not so good. But I do think obviously as well we would have had this naturally, not this to this extent, of course, but it's actually smashed through all the moving averages, which isn't a great sign for Zilliqa. We're trying to recover. So we've managed to break back up that support barrier of around the 0.092 area. Hopefully in the next 24 hours we can pull the bridge back above the 10 cent mark. That'll be an absolutely phenomenal coup as we enter the next 48 hours. But I do anticipate anyway, like I said, a general correction just purely from hitting this previous resistance level, which we've taken historically from a few different testing points across the last 6 to 9 months. So if you look back here in February and March, very much testing around there, and also between the month of May and June we had plenty of that also. So it's why I drew that line in initially, and look at that, pretty much nailed it, not far off. I'll put my pat on the back just for that one. But so that was a key indicator, and just unfortunately it was rejected, but rejected even more so, as we've just said, with the Bitcoin movement and everything else as well. So if we can recover above this, certainly this green area, which is the 50-day moving average, I believe, on our chart. I'll just double check the color situation in a second. Then we have some good positivity coming out of this, because it means we're back on track. We've pulled it back to what we consider a normal correction if you were looking at it in terms of candles, lengths and everything like that, before we start edging back up into a forward fashion. So the really key points here for me is, like I said, getting over that 10 cent, and particularly 10.5 cent would be very, very ideal in this situation. So then we can actually as well do two birds with one stone, confirm and once again that line is definitely a support mechanism, and then we can test the higher region up here again around the sort of 11 to pretty much 12 cents, to be honest, 11.9, so it's not far off at all. So once we can get those cleared, we're back hunky-dory land, and we can start pushing the barrier for that 14 cent mark up here. which we have not seen, to be honest, since the 6th of June. So let's see how it goes. Obviously, the RSI is an absolute state. It must have been out on the town last night. Look at that. Absolutely flopped. So I would suggest that we're very much edging towards the end of this correction, touch wood. We've had, like I said, the critical point down here. It got rejected, which is really good to see. Let's push this back up. And hopefully tomorrow, when I wake up in the UK here, we might be back above that 10-cent mark. But we've always had a struggle, certainly in the last few weeks, around that area anyway, just over 10 cents, as you can see around here on multiple occasions. And it was really satisfying to see us finally break through that and even smash through 12. So it'd be really interesting to see how we recover, but I do anticipate us to get back over that 10 cents, certainly within the next few days, before we can start pushing for the rest of September up to that 14 mark. And then October, I'm expecting big things, especially between mid and end of October, not just for Zilliqa, but of course many of the other crypto assets as well. The big sell-off has occurred today, so I do anticipate hopefully gaining some more green momentum on that. The MACD, I'm not going to pay too much attention to. It's pretty obvious it was going to drop back into a switch over. So let's analyze this in a few days' time and see where we are. Obviously the week is going to be down. The monthly is a slight concern in the sense that we're still negative, but I do think because this has been a very slow moving one, and that's not to say the project is dud or anything like that. Zilliqa is an absolute phenomenal powerhouse as a project. You could take the advantage that it has been a steady month and a healthy month for Zilliqa to maybe have great momentum coming into the end of September and in October. So let's keep an eye on that. Zilliqa just needs to work a bit harder before it gets back to grade B and A. Okay, so let's move on to Harmony One. Similar-ish story here, really. This is the trend lines that we put in a couple of weeks ago, and we've managed to stay in between that. And look at this today. We got a high of 16 cents and a low of 9 cents. So we've gone absolutely up and down on this one today. Really interesting stuff. I was, as I said, mentioning previously, if you see this orange line here, which again is a previous resistance line from historic data, very much lining up with the fib retracement, just slightly out. I'm not going to complain too much about that, to be honest. We actually touched above here as well, which was interesting, which is another resistance line that we drew in a week or so ago. And we actually tested that even today, which was quite interesting, because imagine, I'm just wondering if this whole Bitcoin thing didn't happen and the major correction didn't happen today, whether we would actually have secured above that spot, or indeed at least got this support level here at 13.5, because that would have been absolutely phenomenal. But we've taken a step back. We're not going to be too disheartened on that, because Harmony One again is one of those absolutely phenomenal projects, not just short term this year, but certainly long term. 5-10 years time, we are going to look back at these prices and laugh at ourselves for getting so much of a pickle in whether this is cheap or not, or too expensive, blah blah. So definitely keep an eye on this video in 5 years time, see where we are. But we've had the big sell-off. I was gutted actually, because I missed out on this buy opportunity down here by, what was this, 0.09, like literally 4/10 of a cent perhaps. So that's my fault. I was trying to anticipate that it would come down here at some point over the next week or two. But of course, to have it out of the way in one day is maybe a good thing. But that's not to say it's over. We might see a bit more corrections over the next 24 hours, as we've mentioned, with the Asian market, etc., and other factors coming in with some bearish momentum potentially. The RSI is dipping down. There is an argument to say that we could come down a bit further, potentially around to the 48-45 mark. Who knows? Let's see how that goes in the next couple of days. But I do anticipate that if we can get a close back above this particular restraint line here, around 0.0121 and slightly above that, we are going to look really strong for Harmony One, I'm telling you. Because if we've had a correction like this today, and the same with all the other crypto assets we're covering right now, if we can get above these previous resistance lines, and especially in this fact that it's still above the 21 moving average and also the 50 moving average, that is exceptional. And this just shows the power that these cryptos are going to have in the momentum building up to the next couple of months towards the end of this year. So I'm really pleased to see this. It's not like the previous ones we had way back. And September traditionally in crypto has been a very poor month. If you look at the averages in terms of growth and corrections and things, it's actually one of the worst months. So let's try and get all this stuff out of the way so we can really push forward. Moving on to VET. Now this one I have had a slight concern on when looking at this one. So we've dipped quite far. So we had the opening up here, obviously at some point we pushed up to the 0.15, again hitting this resistance line that we drew in previously, which we measured out in the last couple of days. So this could arguably have been a potential warning sign that we were going to see some resistance and a potential correction. But as I've said at the beginning of this video, we anticipated this correction because of this resistance line anyway. But it's just been absolutely, flown further down just because of all the other market trend as well. So I do hope that this one pushes back, because VET, like Zilliqa, to be fair, and One have struggled to gain the full momentum in a speedy fashion. But you have to really appreciate from the 21st July being back at 5 cents all the way up here to 15 cents. There's no doubt in my mind there would be profit taking. First, there's one there, got me in here. I think that's a mosquito actually, but never mind. So back on track. We got to this high point up here, but this short term and long term profit taking is totally understandable. It's just, hyper inflated with the activities today. So hopefully we can at least get above this 50 moving average. This is the bit that concerns me, is if we float around that or below it, we may start seeing a bit more interaction in a bearish mode on VET to test the lower regions again. I'm hoping we don't come and stay down here back at 10 cents again, because I think it would delay a few things. But I'm not worried. VeChain's a long-term one, and certainly something that I'm not worried about in terms of the next 2-3 months. It's going to rocket. Do not doubt me on that at all. So let's try and push ourselves back up to these areas, particularly of interest. If we can try to potentially get just above this 0.13 mark, I think we're in good stead to have a really good recovery on this, and try and get past this previous fib retracement level just under 14 cents. And let's try and attack this resistance level again at some point, hopefully in the next week or two, because I do think we might have a slow few days of recovery. So don't worry too much about it. It will come back for sure. The MACD, same with the other ones. It's no surprise at all that we switched over. You can't deny that it's been a pretty poor day in terms of correction, but this is what crypto is about: taking profits as you go along, reducing the risk and taking advantage of buy opportunities when you go down. How many more warnings do you guys want, throughout a year or throughout many cycles? We've all been there, we've all done it, we all learn from it. So just make sure that if you have purchased in these corrections, or you're looking at the stabilization of the charts, keep an eye on the various tools like RSIs, etc. But more importantly, know where you purchased in. Don't be greedy. Take profits along the way in incremental percentage value increments, and you will not go wrong. So protect yourself basically. So that is pretty much wrapping up those three. Just to point out as well, with VeChain, weekly in general, not just for today, has been a bit of a hit, and same on the month as well. It's almost in comparison with the other two, which I've always said with these videos. These three are very interesting in the sense they follow similar patterns. But we got to stay positive on 3 months and year to date, very strong still. Like I said, this one isn't going anywhere. Some people are shouting out for $1 this year, and that's absolutely possible. I had my mind set on around sort of 85 to 87 cents. That's quite accurate, I think. But yeah, if we get to $1, absolutely cool beans on that one, because might have to buy the boat, that's for sure. And we'll have to call it VET instead of OMI, because I don't think OMI's going to $1 this year. We'll see. But guys, let us know if you are holding either of these three assets in the comments below. Let us know how you are feeling after today. And don't worry, you're not alone. We're all in it together. And trust me, the positivity is right around the corner. We will be back, as will the many videos. Thank you so much for watching. Please do make sure that you like this video if you found it informative. Subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already. And make sure you press that notification bell to make sure you get notified of all the awesome videos coming your way. So we'll leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you and hopefully all these three in a recovery mode. Goodbye.